Hi everyone, my name's Dana and my YouTube channel name is Gemstone Stitches. If you're interested, I also have an Instagram account that I haven't mentioned before, and the Instagram account name is also Gemstone Stitches, no spaces or underscores. I do a little bit more updating on my WIPs on Instagram. So I'm finally back. It's been, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks since my last update, and I've been pretty busy. You'll see what I got to accomplish in the last 6 weeks. But first I wanted to say a couple of things. The first thing is I was recently catching up on some videos on YouTube because I like to see all the videos from people. So some people might have 75 videos. So every once in a while, if I have extra time, I'll kind of go back and watch more videos of somebody that I haven't got all the way caught up on. And recently I was watching Kay's Cross Stitch, and that's the name of her YouTube channel, Kay's Cross Stitch, if you're interested, but most of you probably already know her. And I didn't even realize she had mentioned me as a Floobie in one of her videos a while back, back when I first started, I guess. So I just wanted to say thank you, Kay, for mentioning me in your Floobie section. That was pretty exciting. I didn't expect that at all. And yeah, fun. The other thing that I wanted to say was I'm just having a lot of fun doing these videos. I mean, nobody cares about all my cross stitching in real life. In fact, when I start talking about my cross stitch, if I have guests at my house or something and I start showing them things, I feel like I'm just kind of like, hey, look what I'm doing, give me compliments, you know, and they're kind of like, this is awesome, you're crazy, you know. It's so fun to get on here and talk about it with people who do the same thing and are very interested in it and understand the excitement and all the work that goes into it. So yeah, I just want to say a big thank you for anyone who's subscribed or commented or liked my videos. I do really enjoy talking about my WIPs and that part of the process. I'm not the biggest fan of the aftermath, you know, getting the video up onto YouTube and all the technological part of it. So kudos to those who make weekly videos, because it does take time and effort, and all you subscribers make me keep wanting to do this. Okay, so let's get into it. The first thing I have to share with you is an FFO. I shared this as a finish in my last video, and now I did FFO it. It is a rainbow hot air balloon, and that says Dream in Color. This is a present for my in-laws because they love hot air balloons, and they have a little business going where they set up at farmers markets and fairs and things like that to sell a lot of the items they make, and they call that Dream in Color, and that's how they sign all of their cards and everything. So the pattern itself just had the hot air balloon and cards, or hot air balloon and clouds, and then I stitched Dream in Color on there. And I finished it in a little hoop, which is really, really easy, and I think it's super cute. It'll be very easy to hang it up on the wall. I just put a little nail in the wall and hang it up, and they're gonna love it. I know they're gonna love it. So now all I have to do is put it in a little box and tuck it away, because it's gonna go to them for Christmas. The next thing that I have are my WIPs. So I worked on 4 WIPs. And I'll talk about the 4th one later. But the first WIP that I have to share with you is the Winter Garden by the Drawn Thread, And this is what it looks like finished. And I was able to get the first page done on it. I still have it on the Q-snap here. So there it is. There's all the work that I've done. The last time that I shared this with you, I had the dogwood done and half of the juniper done. I had done all the lettering and all the snowflakes. So what I accomplished in the last 6 weeks was getting the remainder of juniper finished and then doing the poinsettias. And I probably only worked on this for about 4 days, 3 or 4 days, because I spent so much time on one of my other whips. This was a lot of fun though, because there's a lot of specialty stitches in the poinsettias. All the red in the pot right there and green in the pot there are specialty stitches, and then of course the poinsettias are, I think they're lazy daisies, but they're specialty stitches as well. So this is coming along. I'm going to keep working on this. So the next, that's the full first page. So the next page I get to stitch a cardinal and some conifer, and then I end up getting into the house. So there's a little cardinal and the conifer tree, and then the house is what I'll be working on next. So I'm looking forward to those, because there's more specialty stitches coming along, and it is just a really nice break to work on this project because it's not straight up cross stitching. There's some other things mixed in, so it gives you a nice break from all your other whips. And then my next project that I worked a little bit on was what is this called? Candy Cane Santa Stocking by Dimensions Gold. And this is what it looks like. Sorry, I always look so weird, you know, trying to see what I'm doing. But this is what it looks like here. And I only worked about 3 days on this one as well. This was a Stitch Mania start, so I had only done a tiny bit. I only had done the gray in the beard, and now I have a few more colors finished. So that's Santa's beard and some of his hair up here. That's the center of the project. So not too much to show, doesn't look like much yet, but progress is progress. And then my last whip that I'm excited to show you about, because my other whip I'm not very excited to show, but I thought I should let you guys know how it's going with that one. But my next whip that I want to talk to you about is my Heaven and Earth design. It's called Peacock Days by Josephine Wall. And there it is. All the flowers and the little peacocks and their feathers coming down. This is done on 28 count Lugana 1/1. And I got a page finish, yay! So there is my page finish. Yeah, again, it probably doesn't look like much, but anybody who has stitched on or is stitching on a Heaven and Earth design knows that that's quite an accomplishment, or at least it feels like one to me. I really enjoyed working on this, because this was the first time I used parking. I did this project, I've started this project once before, and I did almost 2 pages of it, didn't like the coverage, so this is a restart. And I restarted it during Stitch Mania. And I got 2 blocks done during Stitch Mania, this top corner. I did 2 side-by-side blocks, and I parked the threads underneath those blocks. So when I picked the project back up, what I did was, first I went through and I stitched all the parked threads, and then would bring in all the new colors that I needed to do for the next 2 blocks. So instead of just, I think I do this a little differently than everyone else. I don't do 1 column down. I like to work in a little bit larger area, so I do 2 columns at a time. And then sometimes I don't only do 2 blocks, I'll work on 4 blocks at a time, depending on how ambitious I feel that day that I'm picking it back up. But with the parking, I also wanted to kind of explain what I've done with the parking. So I'll work on my 2 blocks, and then once I'm done with that symbol or color, I will find where it comes up the next time. I first look in the stitching area that I'm going to stitch next, and if it doesn't come up there, I might even park it like down here or over there. I just try to find where it's closest and coming up next, and I park it there. But the one thing that I do make sure to do when I'm parking is that I park it the very closest that it comes up to my already stitched area. And the reason that I do that is because once I'm completely finished with 2 of the blocks, I want to come in and first stitch all the parked threads. I want to get all those threads out of my way and then bring in the new colors. I don't go symbol by symbol across at all. I just say, oh, okay, I'm gonna start, here's a nice thread, I'm gonna start there, I stitch all that symbol, park it, and I just keep doing that in the area until I'm done with that color, and then I park it. So at the end of all my threads being out of the way, then I'm just left with speckled area of where the new colors need to come in, or where I might have ran out of a color and need to bring in a new strand of thread for it. And what I do is I'll work my way all the way down, and then instead of parking my threads down here, unless these threads are down here because they didn't show up in any area close enough, so I just parked them down below, but most of them would show up in the next stitching area. So I worked my way down the 2 columns, and then I moved over and parked all my threads in these next 2 blocks on the bottom. And then I worked my way up, and then worked my way over and did these 2 columns, and then worked my way down. So you can see, once I got to these last couple blocks, that all my parked threads are over here. So when I go to pick up this project again, what I'm going to do is look at the next 2 blocks, and I'm going to get all these threads out of my way that are right here, and I'm going to start with one of these 2 strands. And the reason I'm going to start with one of these 2 strands that is the furthest away is because these colors are going to show up only over here and over. I'm not going to have to stitch any of this thread over here because the symbol didn't pop up until here. So the whole point of it is that I don't have to try to stitch these colors in this mess of threads. And then I just keep pulling threads until they're all the way stitched, and then bring in the new colors after that. And I hope that made sense. It really works out for me to do it that way because it's a nice break to be able to pick up your project, not have to find a color or cut a strand of thread off, wind your bobbin again, put it away, you know, start the thread and all that. You can just pick up your project, pick a strand, see where it is on your chart, and just start stitching. And then it feels kind of like an accomplishment to have done all your parked threads in that section and move on to start bringing in the new threads. And once you've brought in 9 or 10 more threads, you don't have to do that for a while. You can just use parked threads. So you're kind of switching back and forth, which keeps it interesting. So I'm going to continue working on that, working like that for a while. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was how I'm starting the threads with waist knots. So I'll tie a waist knot and put the needle in front, put the needle through in front of the fabric, and then bring the needle back up where that symbol is. And that way the thread is anchored at the front of your fabric, and there's a trail of threads behind here. And you start your thread way over here because eventually you're going to stitch over this whole area, and then that trailing thread behind is going to be anchored that way, and you can cut off your waist knot. So I've really been enjoying that method a lot. I do have 2 questions for you guys. My first question is, I am getting some column lines. Even though I'm only on page 1, I can see a little bit of column lines between some of the blocks. And I'm not exactly sure how I can avoid that because I don't want to feather throughout my whole project. So I'm wondering if you guys have any other tips besides feathering. I did go ahead and feather this edge because I don't know how fast I'm going to get back to this. So I didn't want to have a whole long column line. But even between blocks, how do I avoid that? I think I'm really going to work on my tension in this next page. So hopefully that might help. If you have any other suggestions, please let me know. And the other thing is, you can't see it because it's so dark, this area, but when I run my fingers across the stitched area, like right here and right down here, I can feel a rippling. It's kind of like a little bit wavy. And like I said, you can't really tell because it's such a dark area, but I'm really concerned when I get into the lighter part of the pattern that it's going to be really noticeable. So again, I don't know if that's a tension issue on my part or what could be causing that to happen. If anybody has any suggestions for me, please leave a comment. I'd love to see your thoughts or ideas or what you're doing to avoid those things from happening. And once I do my next page, I will update you guys with how things are going in that regard. Hopefully I'll get some tips and I'll let you know if things are working out better for me. But thankfully the project is pretty dark for the first couple of pages, so I have a little time to try to figure this out. So that took me a long time. I mean, to do a couple blocks of a Heaven and Earth design takes me about 2-ish hours. There's just, 2 blocks is 200 stitches and they're really tiny and there's a lot of confetti. This is a Josephine wall, so there's a lot of confetti in there. So you can imagine, how many blocks are in a page? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 48 ish blocks in a page. So times that by 2. I mean, I'm working basically 100 hours on that to get a page done. So anyway, yeah, I spent a lot of time. Anytime my son was napping, I was sometimes neglecting house chores and I was stitching. And he goes to bed at 8. Again, I could be neglecting something else I should be doing, and I would stitch until I went to bed. And it just became my main goal for, you know, a good few weeks or more to just get the page finish on this Heaven and Earth project. So I'm really excited about that. I am going to get back into stitching on it. Whoa, almost knocked you guys over. I am going to get back into stitching on that because I want to keep making progress. That being said, I did join the Full Coverage Fanatics Facebook group on, or put together by Ann P. She has a YouTube video, or she does YouTube videos. She has a channel. And I learned about this group by watching her channel and thought, well, that sounds like a great way to keep me on target to keep making progress on this. I only have one full coverage whip going, which is this Heaven and Earth design. So the only challenge that I'll participate in is the one whip challenge, where you're getting 1,200 stitches complete each month. So that sounds doable, because that's 24 hours in a month. Yeah, I think I can do that without it being too much of a problem. And I think that's a really good, that's a great amount to choose, 1,200 stitches. I don't know how they came up with 1,200, but that was a good choice, I think. Very attainable, but you're still getting progress. So I'm going to start that. I think it doesn't begin until the first of the year. I don't know. I need to get back on there and really know the details so that I'm participating correctly. Okay, so my last whip that I want to talk about. It's embarrassing. So my last video, I talked about the BMW logo that I wanted to stitch for my husband. And I worked hard on this for about a week after my last video, trying to get it done for his birthday. And I mentioned that I got the pattern for free online, and as I started stitching it, realized that it was all wonky and wasn't going to make a perfect circle, which the BMW logo is. So I had to frog a majority of what I had stitched in order to get it back to where it was on track, and then rechart it myself. Well, I thought everything was going to work out and everything was going to be okay, but it wasn't. And I kept stitching even though I kind of knew it wasn't, thinking, well, maybe the fabric's just stretched on the Q-snap and it's making it look a little lopsided. No, it's just lopsided. I basically almost finished it before I decided to put it away and possibly get rid of. And here it is. I'm going to show you what a waste of time and how I feel so stupid about this. But here it is. So you can see that, and even when I show it to you here, it doesn't look good. I mean, as far as the BMW, like the B and the W aren't even lined up. Anyway, here it is. So you can see that this part of the circle is just lopsided. I mean, it goes out too far. So yeah, I won't be framing it and giving it to him as a present anymore, because it's not good. And it doesn't fit the BMW brand standard, I mean, that's just not right, what is here. So I couldn't very well frame it and give it to my husband, because that would just be funny, laughable. I probably will at some point go ahead and redo this altogether. I will rechart it and check myself 100 times and then stitch it again at some point, because I do like it. I think it's a cute little thing to stitch up and give to my husband, because he does really like BMWs. But I want it to look right. So first of all, I need to make sure it's a perfect circle, and second of all, I need to make sure that the B and the W are, this looks right as well. So yeah, this is probably going to be scrapped to be done again at a later time when I'm a little bit less irritated by this project. But it did take, I told you I haven't made a video in 5 or 6 weeks. Well, a week or so of that time frame was spent on this, doing 310, 310, 310. I mean, that just took forever. And then when I finally decided to put it away is when I got out my Heaven and Earth design project, and I just went to town. I was like, okay, this is fun. I'm having fun again. And I just stitched. So my plans are going forward to continue making progress on my Heaven and Earth design and the stocking and the winter garden. I want to keep making progress on all 3 of those, because I am focusing to finish the stocking and the winter garden. But I am going to bring in another project. I have 12 more to choose from, because I started 15 projects actually, no, I finished 2 of my projects, so I have 10 more to choose from. So I'll pull something out that I haven't worked on since Stitch Mania and put a few days of work on those. I do like kind of what I was doing for a couple weeks was working on my Heaven and Earth design for 4 days, and then I pulled this out for 3 days and worked on that. And then I went back to my Heaven and Earth for 4 days, and then I worked 3 days on my stocking. So that might be something that I continue, and then just throw another whip into that. That might be something I do. Another thing that I wanted to show you, that Heaven and Earth Designs had a sale, and I broke down and I finally bought a pattern that I'd been eyeing and everyone knows about, and it's A Stitch in Time by Amy Stewart. So I purchased that to eventually start, but not for a long time. I want to get, a good chunk of my Heaven and Earth design project complete before I bring in another one, because, I like to finish things. So I think if I had too many Heaven and Earth design projects going, I would get stressed personally. I know that a ton of people do that and it works for them, but for me personally, I just would feel like I wasn't making any progress. It would be too unattainable to make progress. So anyway, I want to get, maybe once I have gone through to below her neck, I might reward myself by starting that project. Because you can see once you get below here, it's kind of, there's less and less going on. I mean, there are the feathers, but there's just a lot of swirly colors going on there and a lot of darkness. So the other, And you know what? I might not ever even start this project, because after I bought this, I realized that there is something called a stitching shelf, which is exactly this project, except the hoop that says a stitch in time isn't on there. And I can't decide if I like that hoop being on there or if I'd rather it not be there. But I think I have plenty of time to figure out what I would like to do for that. But I did purchase the project, downloaded it as a PDF, and I printed 2 working copies. So whenever I do want to start that, I can. I haven't been stitching much in the last week because we have been really busy in our house. We are actually moving to Vermont. Currently we live in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we're moving halfway across the country to Vermont. I've mentioned that my hometown is the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, and my husband is from Vermont. And we're in Lincoln, Nebraska because of my husband's job. We did try to get back down to Texas for many, many years. We've lived in Lincoln for about 8 or 9 years now, and for about 7 of those years, my husband has tried to get to the Dallas-Fort Worth area office, but they haven't hired him. You can't just transfer. You have to actually apply for the jobs and be hired again to move. And for some reason or another, they just never hired him, even when he would apply for jobs that were 1 grade level lower than he was. So we finally just said one day, hey, why don't we see if you can get to the Vermont office? Because we would like to be near at least one side of the family as we're, growing our family, and then only have to travel to visit one side of the family instead of having to travel to visit both families all year round. So he went ahead and applied for the same exact, he's a supervisor, he applied for a supervisory position, and he got hired. I mean, it all happened in less than 2 months, which just totally shocked me, because how hard it was to get to Texas. I just didn't expect that, but we're really excited. I'm really excited. I love Vermont. Every time we visited, I've loved it there. There's just a lot to offer as far as the great outdoors go. It's a very different area than where I grew up and where I live currently, as far as being able to get out into nature and go hiking and all the fresh water. Get to do snow sports in the winter. I do like snow, so hopefully that's not going to be a problem. I think maybe the long winter will be a little bit of an issue, but I just need to get the right mindset going for that and see how it goes. But we're really excited. So we've been working really hard to get our current house for sale. There's just a few projects that we just hadn't done because there was no real need to get them done, but now that we're selling the house, they had to be done. So we've been detail cleaning and getting those projects accomplished, and we have one more person coming to the house to help fix something this week, and then it's going to go on the market. So fingers crossed we sell pretty quickly. My husband's needed on October 30th for the first day. So we have, I don't know, I guess we have 2 months. Yeah, we're not in terrible shape, because 2 months. But of course then there's all the closing stuff that goes on. So we'll see how it goes. Houses in our neighborhood at the most take 60 days to sell, as long as you price it correctly. But there's many houses in our neighborhood sell within the week you put them on the market. So we'll see what happens. fingers crossed there. So the house is nice and clean and in perfect condition, and I'm enjoying living in it in this way. So now all we have to do is keep it clean every single day, like visitor ready, all the time. So the next time you see me, I might still be in Lincoln, or I could be in Vermont. It just depends, because things are going to be a little crazy with packing things and moving halfway across the country. But yeah, maybe I'll start making Floss Tube videos next to a fireplace. Anyway, just a little life update for you. We did also get to see, excuse me, I need my water. We did also get to see the solar eclipse this past Monday. Lincoln, Nebraska was in the path of totality. So we saw, 95% of it, 90 to 95% of it, because it was a cloudy day. So we were lucky to see what we did see, because it was so cloudy at times we were concerned that we would miss it, but we didn't. My sister and brother-in-law actually drove up as a surprise, last-minute decision, to Lincoln to watch it with us. So that was really fun. We had such a good time for just a couple of days. It was such a fun visit. So that's the other exciting news for us over here. That's about all I have to update you guys on. So thank you so much for watching, and happy stitching.